Hi, everyone. Welcome to Progressive HR Talks Live. I'm super excited for today. I am talking with David Marlow, and we're going to start the stream for real in just a few minutes. We're just waiting for everyone to enter into the live stream. So stay tuned for in 5 seconds. All right, so we are up on Progressive HR Talks Live, and I'm here with David Marlow today. Welcome to our second episode of Progressive HR Talks, where we're all unique, resourceful humans. And as resourceful humans, we thrive on continuous learning. I am Corinne Woodman Holoubek, and I started Progressive HR because I had a thirst for knowledge on topics that were outside my profession, which is human resources. And I wanted to figure out how I could bring them to other professionals and bring them into my practice. So good morning, Faith. Good to see you. Faith is with us live right now. My belief is that everything relates to HR because we're all humans, we're all resourceful. And as humans, we have limitless potential. Thank you for turning in again to the second episode of Progressive HR Talks Live. Please let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. I'm currently in Madison, Wisconsin. Where are you, David?
In rainy Heartland, Wisconsin.
Heartland, Wisconsin. That's close to Milwaukee, right?
Yes. Yeah. About halfway between
Yes.
you and...
Okay. I'm sorry, between me and Milwaukee?
Between you and Milwaukee, yes.
Okay. I'm here with David Marlow. He is the Chief Encouragement Officer of VLURU LLC, and he's my Ikigai Guru. So we're talking about Ikigai today, and as it relates to the future of work, how we can evolve work, and how knowing our Ikigai puts us in a place where we can close the skills gap. So a few people tuning in today. I'm going to take this banner down here. We have Matthew Ley from Kenosha, Wisconsin. Jasmeet from, I think it's Delhi, India. And we have a new guest today with us so far, and that's Allyson Bubb from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hi, everyone. So David and I are going to be talking about Ikigai. To start out, we are going to do a little icebreaker, and we are going to ask everybody, what does your favorite coffee mug say? Go ahead and drop what your favorite coffee mug says in the comments. And I'll share mine, which it says, love you. And then in the middle, inside says, the sheep says, bah. So that's my favorite coffee mug. David?
Yeah. So mine has all these really mean looking fish and this poor little one fish going the opposite way. And on the backside it says, go against the flow. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed. And so that's kind of my philosophy and I'm going to drink from.
So everyone knows David, that he is a coffee aficionado. So that's why I asked about the coffee mugs today. So as we get started, we're going to start and dive right into our first question. And that would be, what is Ikigai?
Yeah. So if you go by just the raw definition, the simplest definition is Ikigai is a combination word in Japanese that means life purpose. And your Ikigai is your purpose, your reason for getting up in the morning. And living into that purpose is the unique expression of you, your gifts, your passions, your skills. It represents your opportunity to impact the world. And then living into your Ikigai is spending time doing what only you can uniquely do. And then becoming the best at it in the world, being the best you.
That's amazing. I'm so into Ikigai right now because David and I have talked about what my purpose is and why I started Progressive HR, and it's really kind of helped me decide where I wanted to go. So as well, anybody, if you have any questions for David, go ahead and drop them in the comments. We have a few people tuning in and letting us know what their favorite coffee mugs are. So I'm just going to highlight a few people.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm still getting used to switching the banners between the banners and the comments. So just bear with me here. This is awfully fun. If anybody is interested in or starting a LinkedIn Live, you can work on StreamYard, which is what I'm working on. And so Alice is saying is that hers says got sisu. Sisu is a Finnish word for preservation, strength, and grit. I think that's pretty cool.
I like that, Allyson.
And then Faith, hers says, rise and thrive. That's totally Faith.
That's a shock, no Faith.
And then the one kind of like I think is the most interesting, and I want to know why, maybe later in the conversation, why Matthew says beans in the jeans. Oh, that's interesting. And then we have another guest joining us from Madison, Wisconsin. So it's Bruce Holoubek of Contracted Leadership. So for those who know me, that's my husband. So thanks, honey, for watching. So again, if you have any questions on Ikigai for David, please drop them in the comments and I'll be sure to bring them up. So we're going to go on to our second question, which is, so why is Ikigai important?
Right. I really like what you said earlier about you're using it to help guide and being that North Star, and that is really the important part of it. Understanding and uncovering your Ikigai, not discovering. Discovering seems like you'd be finding it, whereas uncovering really acknowledges that it's inside of you. It's maybe hidden and buried. I mean, life happens, right? We've got school, we've got family, we've got disappointments. All of these things kind of pile up and hide our Ikigai. And so it's really about uncovering that and getting that North Star so it helps us say yes to the things that help us live out our Ikigai and no to things that don't. And so the process you just kind of alluded to is exactly it. It strengthens you in that you now have a foundation to look at and examine the things you're spending time in. Really like a quote that I read from Fran Lebowitz, a writer. She said, it's very psychically wearing not to write. I mean, if you're supposed to be writing. And that's so close to Ikigai. Anything that you aren't doing that's not Ikigai, if you're not living that out, it's draining. At the same time, you're missing that opportunity to have that energy, right? And the other part of it is it helps you understand and link more and more of your life to where you're in flow and where you're really in your highest energy state.
So here's a question that as you mentioned it, I was thinking about. You talked about saying yes to things and saying no to things, dependent upon, where you feel our Ikigai is. Now, what if there's something that doesn't necessarily flow with my Ikigai, or maybe I don't know if it flows with my Ikigai, and I'm kind of hedging on saying no to it, but I know that it's going to help another person and maybe help their Ikigai. What do I do?
Yeah. Well, two things about that. One, if you don't know about it, and you're certainly not going to know everything at the beginning. I think we'll talk later about my own experience, and it's a refining process. So it's definitely good to experiment. It's definitely good to help others. And anytime you're bringing other people along, you're certainly matching up with our inner purpose to share and to support one another. So definitely, the two things to think about that is, yeah, try some things, even if you're not sure that's it. And the other is, anytime you're helping someone else along, you're getting energized and charged and growing your own Ikigai and strength.
Oh, I think that's really important and very well said. Speaking of well said, Matthew wanted to say that he really liked your quote. So for anyone that's just tuning actually in now, could you repeat that quote for us?
Sure. It's from Fran Lebowitz, kind of a famous photographer and writer. She expressed that it's very psychically wearing not to write. And she said, I mean, if you're supposed to be writing. So if you're a writer, if that's really where your heart is at and you're not writing, it's draining you. It's draining you not to be engaging in your Ikigai. So it's psychically draining not to be doing X if X is your Ikigai. By the same token, doing things that are draining you again, and you're missing the energizing that comes from Ikigai. Glad you like that, Matthew. That really, I love that one. I pull that out, and it's like, oh, this is it. This is a great example. So I remind that of myself all the time too.
Yeah, and I'd never heard that quote before, so thank you as well. I was just thinking of something is that, we talk about Ikigai. Can you give us an example of Ikigai by letting us know what your Ikigai is?
Absolutely. So mine is to encourage, empower, and enable people to live into their purpose. It's a little ironic, right? that my purpose is dealt with purpose, but that really stems from, and I actually uncovered it really from all of the things I've done in my life and my career and outside, all involve helping people to be the best that they can be. And so whether that's in a formal process like continuous improvement, I'm a Lean Six Sigma guy, or in coaching kids soccer, that's always been my drive, and that's my personal Ikigai.
No, thanks, David. Those that are watching, if you know what your Ikigai is, drop it in the comments. I'd like to highlight it, give everybody more examples. So while we're waiting for that, I'm going to go on to the next question, which is also an interesting learning for me, because again, I talk back about how this is the second episode and I'm still learning how to work through StreamYard. So I'm going to do something I've never done before and share my screen. So, and I'm going to be sharing my screen in regards to David's answer to the question, what is one of the most misunderstood things about Ikigai?
Sure. So I'm going to give you two. The first one, if you Google Ikigai, you're probably going to see a Venn diagram that purports to be Ikigai. And the Venn diagram is a great device, a great tool, and a great introduction to the idea of Ikigai. And it's not Ikigai. What you'll see here, and you can see it on the screen, is the four circles: what you love or what you're passionate about, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what people are willing to pay for or value. And that intersection, this says Ikigai, but what that actually is much more a manifestation or realization of your Ikigai. And I can give you a quick example. I have a client who was a pastor, and he got cancer, and thankfully he recovered. But after he recovered, he really didn't have the energy and the ability to be the kind of pastor that he wanted to be. And so he was looking for a new way to manifest or realize his inner calling. And we actually utilized this to help him with that as a diagnostic for how we might live that out. So still has the same passion for sharing spiritual truth and things. Guy's also an amazing writer, and one of those guys that understands science in a way like multi-dimensional universes, right? And so bringing that together, he's actually written a couple of books. And if you look at the Ikigai Venn, his passion remains the same, and understanding his Ikigai helped him fill that in. His books have been #1 bestsellers on Amazon. And so obviously there's a demand for that, and people want that, and they're willing to pay for that. Where we worked and talked through was the skills, because even though he's a very good writer, writing and writing novels are different things. And he got some feedback from one of the top Amazon reviewers that his dialogue work wasn't the best, and he needed some editing skills. And so that told him through our diagnostic here that, okay, in order to live out that Ikigai in that way, he needs to raise his skill level. And so the skills analysis would say he needs editing skills, or he needs to hire that, and he needs to get better writing dialogue. And so it's a great tool. It's not Ikigai. And it's something I use in my practice to help people. It also works very well for businesses digging into their purpose, because understanding what the customer need is, it's a very links very well to design thinking and other things like that. But that is one of the misunderstandings. It's not Ikigai. It's really your diagnostic tool. Okay. The other one is, I'll often get asked, what's the difference between Ikigai and why? Aren't they your why? Aren't they the same thing? And much like the diagnostic, it's a why is an aspect of it, but Ikigai is a much deeper, more personal, only you have this kind of thing. Whereas your why is more, again, the manifestation or the realization. It's lots of people can have that same why, and that's okay. Only you can have your Ikigai. So those are the two both questions and misunderstandings that I encounter the most with Ikigai.
So what you're saying is the almost 9 billion people, I think that's what our global number is up to, is that every single person of those 9 billion people has a different Ikigai.
Yes. And to be ourselves is our one true calling. It's common to all, but unique to you, right? And so being that maximum self is really all you got to be. And it's a very freeing thing too, to think of your purpose in that way. It's like I have to be me and be the best me I can. I don't have to be this, I don't have to be that, I don't have to be what the world tells me. You're really living out your full potential and your Ikigai.
I love that. Love that. So going to our audience, Allyson commented that her Ikigai is to educate and empower people to take positive action to transform the world. That is amazing. Thanks, Allyson.
That is
awesome. If you're just tuning in, go ahead.
Just saying, think about that now. So for people wondering about their own, so Allyson has that, and now that gives her clear direction, and she can examine job opportunities or any other activities, relationships. Are they enriching that Ikigai? I'd like to cross the bottom of the screen. That's gone, but anyway, that empowers her to do that. Is this a yes or is this a no? And that's a fabulous and well articulated Ikigai.
So we have a few more people tuning in, and there's one LinkedIn user that is coming in from Milwaukee. Just so you know, that sometimes we can see who is commenting and other times we can't. So LinkedIn user, if you wanted to next comment, go ahead and put your name in the comments so that we can know who you are. Thanks. And Faith also said that, yes, it's very freeing to be yourself. So yeah. Faith, I want to know what you consider to be your Ikigai. Can you let us know? So I think I might have interrupted you on something, David, just to kind of throw those comments in there. Is there something that I did interrupt you on?
No, I don't think so. I think we're good.
So we have another, is this Bruce? Yep, this is Bruce. His Ikigai is to build something that means something through the creation of more meaningful, mutually meaningful work engagements.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And then Paula, I'm so sorry, Paula, I'm going to not say your last name very well. Rauenbuehler, maybe? Let me know if that's right. Thanks for joining us from Milwaukee, Paula.
Hi, Paula.
So as we're waiting for a few more of our audience's Ikigai statements to come in, we can go back to our next question, which I think is a very important one. What services do you offer at VLURU?
Sure. So VLURU is a company I created, and the name means versatile guru, because we use lots of different methods to help our clients. And we're all about, you're going to be surprised by this, but encouraging, enabling, and empowering people to live out their best lives, careers, and businesses. And we do that through a couple of different services. One's the individual coaching. A lot of what we just shared with the Venn diagram and whatnot is helping people identify and uncover that Ikigai, and then taking them through those steps of how best to manifest that or realize that in their lives or careers or businesses. And that can take many, many different forms, but really exciting work doing that with individuals. And then with businesses doing the same kind of thing. So if you think about most companies nowadays are looking to increase engagement, and autonomy, mastery, and purpose is what drives engagement. And so purpose is right there. So we help businesses, both small and startup, all the way to Fortune 500s, bring their purpose into their products and their people. And really exciting work in that space as well. Because if you think about it, if you've got a company and you understand that purpose, and your employees understand that, and then you've got an environment and a culture that supports the employees in understanding their Ikigai, and then you merge those together. Now you've got everybody working in concert at their highest self, their highest capability, and serving customers and clients and the world at its best level. I mean, it is the ultimate win-win-win, right?
It is. And what I mentioned earlier on when I was talking about what Ikigai has to do with progressive HR is that, part of my purpose is working to close the talent gap, to close the skills gap before 2030. And I think if we all can focus on being our best selves, being our best and most unique, resourceful humans, that there's better matching. We understand where we want to go, what we want to do, and we spend less time, not necessarily job hopping, but like having friction against our match. Mm-hmm. So, and then since we've been actually talking about that, Faith has chimed in with her Ikigai, and I'm going to bring that up. So I think it's to help others reach their potential, even if they don't see it in themselves at first. But the vehicles that I have done that through has changed over the years. She asked, can you speak to changing vehicles?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a great example. People often ask if your Ikigai changes, and the answer to that is no. I mean, your understanding of it deepens and grows, but your manifestation of it or your realization of it may change over time. So part of my own journey was discovering that I had my Ikigai running through a thread as diverse as a disc jockey, right? A sergeant in the United States Marine Corps, an engineer working on MRIs, an engineer working in IT, then into management, and an executive at a Fortune 500 company, and a continuous improvement program at a centuries-old company, as well as coaching my kids in soccer. And so at each point along the way, I was seeing that common thread of when I was energized, of when I was doing my best, and when I was impacting the world in the way that only I can do. And so absolutely, it's not linked to a single, especially not a job, but certainly not a single thing necessarily. It can change and grow over time. That's why I always try and emphasize purpose over profession, right? So if you understand your Ikigai, you're not your job, you're not even your career, you are your purpose, your Ikigai. Because those jobs go away, right? I mean, jobs change, careers change, entire industries are disappearing. We have a little thing called a pandemic right now that sort of disrupted a few
Not heard of that.
And so if you're dependent on if being that job is you, it can go away. There's no foundation to your life there for that. Whereas so purpose over profession it's a phase question. Yeah, there's lots of different ways, and even simultaneously. I mean, again, you can be coaching kids. You can. It's a part of your relationships. It's a part of being a mom or a dad or a brother or sister or whatever, right? Relationship you have, as well as your job and being a neighbor and so forth.
So next time somebody asks me, "Oh, Kristin, what do you do?" I can be like, "Well, my purpose is."
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's much better. It's not only a much more true answer, it's going to spark a much better conversation at a networking event. Because if you say, well, I'm an engineer, or I'm a continuous improvement program, or whatever, most people know that, and it's kind of a dead end. Whereas if you say, oh, well, I encourage and empower and enable people to live out their purpose. How about you?
And then I would say, well, tell me more about that.
Exactly. Yeah, it creates a better conversation, as well as being more true to yourself.
Yeah. So we've had a few more people come in with answers. And I think this one is Kristin Strunk. Kristin, tell me if this is you. Kristin, LinkedIn user, it shows up as to help people have more aha moments.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Yeah.
And then I think this one is Paula. Paula, let me know if this one is yours. To bring out the best in others for the best of the world by bringing the best of me. Wow, I like that. 3 bests.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Others by bringing the best of you. like an Inception Ikigai.
Inception Ikigai. What do you?
Oh,
Is that like a meta Ikigai?
I just made that up, and let's go with that.
Okay, let's go with that. Add that to your services.
Yeah, let me make a note here. Hang on. I almost feel mine in a way is because it's about my purpose is helping people find their purpose and live out. That's awesome. I love that.
And then I think that yes. So yes, I believe Kristin said that was hers. That the aha moments, and then Paula said that was hers. That the best one. I like that one. And Faith says, thank you for emphasizing purpose over profession. So crucial to remember. Yeah, I mean, if we could only just change our vocabulary too, I think words in our vocabulary. I was watching Dashcam Wisdom from Dr. Charlie the other day, and he was talking about the meaning of words and the meaning of our vocabulary. If we can kind of change our vocabulary, we can start living more as well into our Ikigai. Thank you, Faith. So I am going to move on. And again, if you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. And if you have any questions for David, we're talking about Ikigai, which is the purpose of being and how you can be your best self through your purpose. So I want to know, David, how'd you start your Ikigai Guru journey?
Oh, okay. So my career did not end as I had planned. That's the big splash there. And I kind of anticipated that with changing corporate environments. The world changes. This is well before COVID. And so a number of years ago, I anticipated that. And the worst thing to do when you need a job is to go on LinkedIn and start networking then. And so I decided to get active on LinkedIn. And I was just writing and I still do, write just things that are on my mind, things I want to share. Ikigai is one of them now. But and so in doing that, because it was just really me, I asked a number of colleagues and people that I'd made some connections with, what was my brand? What was coming across? And one guy said, well, I don't know about your brand, but you ought to look into Ikigai. And I said, what's Ikigai? He said, well, just look into it. And so I started digging into it. And there at the time, especially, there wasn't a lot of literature on it. But through the course of that and the reflection process, I really saw that over the course of my career, and I shared earlier, those various kinds of roles, that where I was at my best, where I was the most energized, was when I was helping people you know, grow into their best selves in their lives, their careers, and their businesses. And that again was manifest through individual coaching and mentoring, or changing an entire department at a Fortune 500 company. And then realizing that I was able to put a name to it, Ikigai. And so began practicing that, as well as joining all of the disciplines that I've had over the years. So understanding personal Kaizen, design thinking, lean, various practices of driving improvement or helping people understand their situation, and kind of pulling all that together is what I've been doing for the last number of years. And then, as I said, my career didn't end the way I had anticipated. The continuous program was kind of winding down, and we blew up our department. And great company, I have great feelings for them, and they blew up the department, and they had a role for me. And by having my understanding of my Ikigai, I was able to look at that and say, okay, is this something I want to do? And it really would not have allowed me to do any of those things. It's a fine job and all of that, but it would have been draining, and I could just see progressive years of draining down and psychically wearing me down, right? By not doing something, and psychically withdrawing because I wasn't doing stuff. So I was able to say no to that, and I took an early retirement and founded VLURU. And I ran into someone the other day, and they hadn't seen me in a while, and they didn't recognize me at first. And he goes, "Well, I'm really sorry, but you just you look different. You're so much more relaxed now." And so, like, well, good. That's good. I also have a good tea, but at any rate, so really that was my journey. Was all of those events, and then the awareness of it, what kind of pulled it all together, and enabled me to understand it in a way that I'd never understood before.
So one of the reasons why I call David my my Ikigai guru is because if you follow David, you know that every day, and when I say every day, like I mean every day. I think there's like maybe one day you've missed, maybe like a Sunday, where you post on LinkedIn Ikigai learning. And so I'm learning every day, as well as I'm commenting and I'm acting on my Ikigai. And so for those of you who are just tuning in, I'm talking with David Marlow from VLURU, and we're talking about Ikigai, which is the purpose of being. Speaking of that, I wanted to ask, I didn't hear Matthew. Matthew didn't tune in to say what his Ikigai was. I don't think. I'm looking through the comments here. No. So Matthew, I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'd like to know what your Ikigai is. As well, one of the LinkedIn users said that he really likes how you make things up on the fly. Going back to the Inception Ikigai.
Oh, that's nice.
So going back to my question is that can you tell me, or do you have a favorite post?
Oh boy, favorite post.
As well, while Dave's thinking about that, anybody in the audience, if you have a favorite post of Dave's, go ahead and throw that in the comments, because we'd like to know.
It's like asking which one of my children is my favorite. I will say that I got a lot of response and enjoyed the conversation that came from one recently about Ikigai, because sometimes the dialogue can be a little tactical, because people are looking for opportunities to use it in their careers, and so it gets a little tactical. But the deeper aspects of Ikigai include things like the 5 pillars of Ikigai, and I published that, and that really opened up some really good offline conversations about it, and the opportunity for deeper meaning beyond, again, just career, and recognize and focus on career, because face it, we all work and we all have to make a living. I always joke that my wife likes to eat like every day, and sometimes more than once, right? But we all have to have that, so that's an important part of it. The true Ikigai search includes additional depth. And so, being in the here and now, being present, starting small, the concept of personal Kanban or personal Kaizen rather, and starting small, huge help for people in terms of just their life in general, but certainly achieving your state of Ikigai, taking joy in the little things, embracing aspects of life that are small and but important. Um, Harmony and sustainability is another thing, and not sustainability in the environmental sense, although it's certainly applicable. But it's are you living a life that you can sustain? So if you're working 80 hours a week, that's not sustainable. That's not in harmony with your body. That's not in harmony with your relationships. And so factoring those things into your thinking are really strong. And then really releasing yourself to be yourself. And to me, that's been the greatest aspect of Ikigai, giving me the freedom to really be me, the guy that makes things up, right? And really living into that and seeing that as both okay, but also a good thing. So that's probably was my most recent favorite post, if you will, just because the depth of conversation that it created and the opportunity.
So to go back to one of the things you said about making things up is like, I don't think we make things up. I think we coin things.
Yes.
So yes. So going back to like being comfortable with who you are and not listening to the society, not listening to others that say what they think that we should be or put this in a box, is that when we make things up, I think we also are coining. We're also being who we want to be. I talk all the time. I add words together. And I think that that's just me being me. And I'm okay with that. So I've kind of like jumped over that hurdle. So, and I was talking about that, and I apologize, Matthew. I didn't see the comment where he had shared his Ikigai, but he did. So aligning people's boats, identity, to their true north, purpose, and making sure it's the right boat.
Oh, I like that. It's got the full visual, right? You're on a boat. You got to be on the right boat. It's got to be going the right way. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I have another question to ask you, which is when you were talking about how you started on your VLURU or your Ikigai Guru journey, you talked about personal Kaizen. Did I hear that right? Personal Kaizen?
Yes, personal Kaizen. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that really piqued my interest.
Sure. So that is the approach of, again, small things. So allowing yourself to do things that, so I'll give you a quick example that's an easy one. Like a lot of people, I'll have writer's block. And even though, yes, I publish something every day, I will often stare at the screen. And that feeling you need to have everything in mind as you're typing, or the idea that it might have to be perfect or just right, or you're worried about, will oftentimes keep us from starting. And so in a personal Kaizen framework, you think of the smallest thing you can do and commit to without any fear. So I sometimes will literally just say, all right, I am going to put up an open Word, and then I'm going to walk away. And I do. And then I will sometimes type. I'm giving myself permission to type a terrible paragraph, and I'm typing a terrible paragraph even as we speak. And then I'll start typing the things that are on my mind, and before you know it, I'm going good, and it's working. It's breaking things down into small enough increments too that you can do it without fear, and that you can commit to doing it. Another quick example that I think will help is running. So I've been running for 10 years. I had run obviously in the Marine Corps and then post, and then hadn't run for a long time, and had some health issues and needed to be doing something. And so I started running, and I literally started running by running for 1 minute and walking for 4, running for 1 minute and walking for 4. And that was it. And I gave myself permission to run poorly and be sore and all the other things that go with it. But by not going out and running 3 miles, right? I probably could have run 3 miles, but then I'd have been sore, really sore, might have injured myself, and I might have quit. But by breaking that down into the small chunks, as well as something that dropped the level of fear and allowed the level of commitment, I was able to keep going to the point where I've now run marathons. I'm going to run over 1,000 miles this year. And it's a habit that I've been able to sustain because I started small and I eliminated the fear. So that's the power of personal Kaizen, and it matches so strongly with our Ikigai, especially if you're venturing into new places or you're experimenting with something or you're trying something out. It's a very, very helpful practice.
So I think, as I've been contemplating as you've been talking, that in a way, well, no, really, that this talk right now with you is come full circle for me, because when I started following your learnings, teachings, guru-ness, namaste. A lot of people look at me and see me as kind of this like no fear, kind of like just jumps in kind of person. And really I am kind of, I'm really excited about things, but I'm also really super anxious and nervous. And when you kind of helped me make the decision, yourself and Christopher Lynn were incremental in helping me make the decision to go to apply for Live. I was afraid. And so I kind of like took myself and I said, okay, just like David says, do one thing, do one small thing. It doesn't mean that you have to keep going. It means you just try it. So I applied, and then I'm like, okay, I did it. And now I said, okay, well, what if I get this? Like, what is the next step? Well, maybe I want to start thinking about who I can have on as my guests. And I started thinking about that. And then miraculously in 1 week, I was approved, and it was like, yay. Oh no, what do I do now? And it was little things. It was like those little steps, getting StreamYard, then playing around with StreamYard, then, getting the graphics for everything. And then it's like, I start talking to people and saying, well, I have Progressive HR Live, and hey, you want to be on with me? So, and now I'm full up to like December for guests. And it was just because of your teachings that I just did those one little incremental things. And don't get me wrong, I was still really super anxious to come on today. But again, it's just, you don't have to think of this huge bite you have to chomp off. You can think of these little chunks. So thank you for that, David. And I'm really happy this all came full circle.
Wow.
So we have a few comments from our audience. Allyson, I love this. Perfectionism, I didn't say that right. Perfectionism, talking about perfection, is the voice of the oppressor, the enemy of the people, and it will keep you cramped and insane your whole life. Anne Lamont.
Yeah, that's great. That's one of my favorites, actually. I'm a recovering perfectionist. My name is Dave. I'm a recovering perfectionist.
And then Allyson also says that love the focus on tiny progress over perfection. So I think it's great when you can admit that you don't have to be perfect. Yeah, as well as it's very freeing. And then Matthew said that personal Kaizen reminds him of the Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's a great book about the same topic.
Yeah, I'm so frustrated. I've got to find James Clear and meet him and let him know I'm frustrated. He took all these great ideas and put them all into one book. And yes, that is an awesome book, and actually is a very nice compilation of a number of very good habits to as the title would imply, that are very powerful. But yes, that there's some elements of that in his, and it links strongly to a lot of good practices. But yeah, that's a great book.
So we have about 15 to 10 minutes left in the stream. So I wanted to open up this time to more Q&A from the audience. If you're just tuning in now, This is Progressive HR Talks Live. This is our second episode with David Marlow from VLURU, and we're talking about Ikigai and how Ikigai is the purpose of being. Please, any questions that you have for David, drop them in the comments. We'll try to get to all of them. And while we're waiting for the comments to come in, because there is like a lag between when David and I are talking and when the comments show up in the live stream, I want to go back to Inception Ikigai.
You want to tear a hole in the universe. That's what you're doing.
I'm doing what?
You want to tear a hole in the universe.
Well, no, I think I wanted to understand a little bit like more. Like I took it in as like a meta. What I'm going to pull up the quote that was from, I think it was Paula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where we talked about it, and she said, talking about her Ikigai, which is mine, is to bring out the best in others for the best of the world by bringing the best of me. And then you'd mentioned about Inception, and I'm like, okay, so now I remember. Inception is the movie, right?
Right.
Where your guy was in the mind, and I just wanted to know why you thought of that.
Oh yeah, that. Dream within the dream within the dream, and if you look at what Paul is saying, she's bringing out the best of others by bringing out the best of herself to bring out the best of the world, and it's a good inception. But I mean, it is almost but it does show a really strong part of the power of Ikigai is like if you're living that out, others are benefiting, but you're also benefiting because you're living into the fullness of what you were made to be. And so you're winning, they're winning, and you're getting, the more you practice it, the more you do it, the more, and live into it, I should say. It's not an action per se. The more you live into it, the greater understanding you have of it, which again, refines it and allows you to really know those things that are driving and helping you. So that's why I like that idea of just continually building and looping through. But yeah, it's the movie reference there. So.
Are you going to do a post on it?
You know what? I probably will, because that's how. I was talking with Corinne about this, or were we? Right?
Yeah, or were we? Or was it just?
Yeah, I really like that Ikigai, especially since that allows you to think about. Well, what are those actions where I'm both building myself up and building up others, right? The one thing I would ask you to think about as you refine that, Paula, is to think, okay, what are those things that are helping me be the best for me, and just keep meditating on that or thinking about that and reflecting to drive that, so you have an even greater understanding of what it means to be the best you, and what's not evidence, but what do I see when I see that.
So we had a question come in from Allyson. Thank you, Allyson. Can you talk about the intersection of strengths and Ikigai? And are people always good at their Ikigai when they first uncover it? Great questions.
Yeah.
Wow. Whoops, yeah. I got caught in my cord there.
Yeah, those are awesome questions. So as far as being good at it, probably not even the understanding is not, you're not good at it at the beginning, like almost anything. And that's where, going back to personal Kaizen, that approach is very helpful, because I've coached a couple of people that were just insistent they had to know what it was. It's like, well, why don't we start with what you think it is, and let's keep going. So you're not going to be good at understanding it, and not going to be good at living it entirely right at the beginning. And give yourself that time. Embrace the joy of small beginnings, right? As far as the strengths, absolutely, it's a very good linkage, because it's giving you some understanding both of what you are good at, and if you go back to the VIN, that's part of the diagnostic. But it's also helpful because when you think about when you've been applying those strengths, what are those things? What are the events? That's the part of the reflection process to look at when have I been my best? What are those events? What are the things that I'm doing? So when you're doing the diagnostic, the what you're good at is certainly, it almost overlaps, right, between what you love and what you're good at. The true strengths finder talks about a lot of those are inherent. So for me, part of mine, my strengths were significance. So I want to work on things that matter, maximizer, helping others, maximize the learner, and so forth. All of those definitely play in and contribute, and I do recommend people understand those at least as part of their reflection process. It's not, your strengths aren't your Ikigai only because they're elements of it, right? The Ikigai is a much deeper understanding of it. Yeah, that's awesome.
While you're talking about that, that just reminded me about LinkedIn stories. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a quick behind the scenes for everyone. Smile, everyone. Oops, we'll do like, can we do this way? Oh, no, it's not letting me change the...
Yeah.
This is so fun. I'm going to try to do like the side angle here for everyone. Okay, that's a great behind the scenes LinkedIn story.
Awesome.
So we have about, I would say about 6 or so minutes left. If you have a quick question, please throw it in the comments for David. I guess I wanted to maybe reverse. David, do you have any questions for the audience?
Oh, wow. So I would ask maybe what triggered you to come on this? What interests you about Ikigai, and what was your drive to want to watch? Obviously, Korean is fascinating and does great stuff, and the old guy with the beard, what was interesting about that?
So what David had, I snorted a little bit there. My laugh was so... People who know me and talk with me will know, like, when I'm really excited and happy, I like laugh and I'll snort a little bit. So there's like an in-depth look into Korean there.
Yeah.
So to repeat the question, what?
Authenticity. It's all about
authenticity. Yes, you that, and that also builds into being the best you too. Mm-hmm. Is, can you be authentic? Like those little things that make you an imperfect person lead you into happiness and purpose and your being and your Ikigai. So we had, I think this is from my husband. He said that I led him into watching this. Oh.
That's good.
Thanks, Bruce.
Good.
And
one of the 10 rules of Ikigai is surround yourself with friends. So
I love that. I love that. I say surround yourself with unique and kind people that are just as unique and kind as you are.
Oh, I like that. That's an even better refinement, right? And yeah, that's why they would be your friends, right? Because that's
right, exactly. Yeah, that's why I surround myself with you too, as well. Yeah. So I think this was from either Kristin or Paula. Let us know. I've seen your posts and wanted to learn more about you and what you do. Oh, so, yeah. And then we love Matt too. Love what you both are putting out there on LinkedIn, and was excited and still am. Yay, Matt, to hear you discuss these ideas live.
That's awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. And I think this might be Bruce again, and of course, past discussion with Dave.
Bruce and I have awesome goatees. We have like an association of cool guys with goatees.
So LinkedIn user, if you say me, like I can't, it's funny how in the stream, if you don't have like some of your settings turned on, I see you as LinkedIn user. So if you comment, you can put your name behind it. It happens to me all the time when I watch Chris Lynn's LinkedIn lives, his LinkedIn learning talks. It's like I always have to remember to put my name after everything I say. Yeah. And then from Heidi. Hi, Heidi. I do not know much about Ikigai, and I enjoy your posts.
Well, thanks. I appreciate both those things. Hopefully you learned something today.
I learned something today. I learned about Inception Ikigai. I know. I'm gonna keep beating that one.
Quickly trademark. You talked me into coining monotasking too, right? So
Yes, yes.
I did. That is like, I can't find anybody else that said that before I did, but that actually that's a very good aspect of Ikigai, and for people to consider the idea that you really can't multitask. The brain doesn't work that way. You're not truly multitasking, even if you're doing lots of things. And I know right now you're kind of multitasking because you're monitoring various things. But the brain can't really do that. And monotasking, I said, is the new multitasking. It's the new cool thing. But there's a lot of benefit to focused work on one thing, especially in the space of your Ikigai or what you're doing, because you get into that state of flow much better, and you're much more likely to be in that. And from I'll tell you from a Lean Six Sigma standpoint too, I can prove to you that you will work faster, you will accomplish your goals quicker, you'll get things done faster if you monotask than if you multitask, even though you think you're going faster. Plus, it's a stress and strain, pardon me, on the body, and that's another thing you want to do as you're trying to live into your EKI is create those moments of flow, of peace, of eliminate as much conflict as you can.
So one of the things as we're talking about this with me is that it's hard for me to monotask. And so what I've done, because I have a short attention span. And so I can't do one thing for long periods of time, and I need to stop, and I'll leave things unfinished. So I'll leave like little projects around the house, and my husband is, Bruce has got me into trying to get me into sprints. So where I'll do a sprint of like 3 things for 10 minutes each until I finish. But yeah, that's kind of like how I've had to try to like work the monotasking into my daily life.
Mm-hmm. That's a great practice.
Yeah. Well, I try. And then from Allyson, she said, love the knowledge and encouragement you're putting out there in the world, Dave.
Well, thanks, Allyson. You as well.
So as we're finishing up here, I wanted to let you know that you can follow David Marlow at David E. Marlow on LinkedIn, or email him at Dave at VLURU. So interested in talking to Dave more about Ikigai, following Dave's Ikigai teachings. Anything else, David?
No, yeah, anything, even just conversation or interest in Ikigai or coffee or my grandchildren. Those are pretty much the things I talk about.
And then, sorry, I just used my finger there. I'm
running
used to.
I'll talk to you
what?
Running also. I'll talk to you about
running, exactly. And then you can follow me at Crean Woodman Holoubek on LinkedIn. You can also follow Progressive HR on LinkedIn, which is my company page. And that we will be doing, this is what I wanted to say. Follow Progressive HR on LinkedIn. That is not the right one. What happened there? See, non-perfectionism. So I meant that one to say that we have upcoming episodes. Our next episode is 10/7 with Jay Abbasi. And then we'll have other episodes with Nick Anton and Kristin Strunk, who's on the stream today, and Holly Ann Burns, and Mr. Timspiration McMurtry. And so we'll be talking about everything progressive HR, everything that you wanted to know about being a resourceful human. So we've come to our last minute, and in our last minute, I would like David to give everybody an Ikigai challenge. What can everyone do? One thing everybody can do today to work towards their Ikigai.
One small thing, right?
One small thing.
One small thing. Well, especially for those who don't have their Ikigai, but even the ones that have joined in that do, spend some time thinking about your best moments. When have been the best moments in your life? When have you felt that flow? You know how when hours pass, but it seems like moments. Really, really invest some time in thinking about those, And one, take a moment to be grateful for them. But two, when you think about those are clues as to your Ikigai. And that'll help you both uncover it or refine it. And it can be done very quickly. So a very small step.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you, Dave, for joining me today. Progressive HR Talks Live. Thank you to our audience for joining in. Dave and I are so happy to have you conversing here. And we will see you. Have a wonderful Thursday. Almost forgot what day it was. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you all next week.
My pleasure.
Bye.